Awesome. I think we got a pretty full room today, and so we're going to get started. Again, my name is Stuart Blumenthal. I'm with ETHOSystems. I'm the practice director here. And today we're going to be going over the 2024 R4 release that is going to be published tomorrow night. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Just for a couple of logistic issues, the presentation is about 30 minutes. All the phone lines are muted. If you have any questions, please use the questions feature within the GoToWebinar. And if you want a copy of this PowerPoint, just please put your email address into the questions area, and we can get that sent over to you very easily. Next month, we have our famous year-end webinar, year-end processing webinar. We're excited about this. We go over 1099s and closing out modules and closing out for the whole year, rolling retained earnings, things like that, which the system does roll retained earnings automatically. We will, that's on December 19th. For those who have maybe not been on Intacct for a full year, highly recommend you attending this webinar. Also just some tips and tricks on, again, the 1099s for this upcoming year, and making sure that you're prepared for that as well. So again, we kind of outlined the agenda, but most importantly, tomorrow night, around 8 o'clock Pacific time. So it's always an approximate. It's not set in stone. Sage will kick you out of the system at that point. You'll get a message saying it's under maintenance. That maintenance window should stay until early Saturday morning sometime. So by Saturday morning when you wake up normally, the Sage Intacct should be available for you at that point. If you have any problems, please, for our Ethos clients, please make sure that you go onto the dashboard and submit a support ticket. But honestly, we don't really expect very much from this release or any other release. So that's, again, tomorrow evening, you'll get kicked out of the system. There are a few configuration changes that occur with this release. So to turn things on, you have to go into the setup options and turn things on. If you feel uncomfortable doing that, please contact our support. We'll be happy to work with you on that, or your primary consultant. They can help go through that and turn on those settings on. Always give a word of caution for going into the settings and turning things on or off, because they might be configured for specific reasons. So again, if you have any questions along the way. Second thing, there might be things we go over. We're going to be going over primarily the construction stuff. There are some other features that they've added, but we're going to be focusing on the construction and real estate changes that they made. So I just want you to be aware of that. So one of the things that we have asked for, and we finally got, is that everyone asks for their customer ID. You know that you need that customer ID for Sage University or Sage Intacct Community. It makes our life a lot easier. It makes your life a lot easier if you need to go into any of those websites. For our implementation, we know that's in our portal, in your implementation portal, but Sage finally added it to the screen. So if you go to company ID or company information under the main menu, company information, you'll see it right underneath there. So we're really excited that they've added that to the system. It just makes our life a little bit easier. One of the things that people have asked for is sending payment notifications to a secondary email address. So a lot of times, I don't know if you know that or not, but you can send emails to the recipient, to the vendor saying, hey, it's gotten paid, and it will automatically send that out. Now you can include a secondary email address in there. So what you have to do, again, now this is a setup option, is you go into accounts payable configuration. There's a box down here called include secondary email contacts in email notification. And you have to turn that on first. Then when you're in the vendor, one of the important things you have to make sure about in the vendor screen is clicking on the send automatic payment notifications under the payment tab, payment information tab. And then what it will do is that the payment notification email will be sent to the primary and secondary email addresses listed in the pay to contact on the vendor. So please turn that on. if you want. The nice thing about Intacct is that you don't have to configure an email server. So again, a lot of people find this really helpful, especially if you're paying employees or specific vendors that want to get notified. This is a great way of letting them know. And if you have a lot of vendors that you want to turn this on for all of a sudden, contact us. We can show you how to do mass imports, mass updates within the system. We've got some tools that allow you to do that as well. So if there's something that you want to turn on for everyone, just let us know. We'll be happy to help you on that. One of the things we have seen is for statements, there wasn't a balance column, a running balance column. So that has been added. You will have to go into the printed document feature, into the platform services, go into the printed document and add that column to your statements. If you need help with that, we're here to help you on that. But there's a field called running balance, and you just add that to your the Word document, and it will print out and show the balance just like it shows on the screen here. Obviously, your statement may look a little bit different from the one on the screen. So this is a cool feature. You can now print time and materials and expense billing details directly from project contract invoices without creating a separate report. So as you can read on the screen, these billed expenses appear together for streamlined reporting and using for printed invoices so that you can group these together. The other thing that's really cool is that they have a new configuration option that allows you to zip all your supporting documents together and attach that to the customer invoice when you send the email. So they're really trying to work on the delivery of the forms and be able to pull things together so that you can, instead of getting multiple emails or trying to do it manually, you can zip them up together and then just send that all from within Sage Intacct at that point. And so when you're in the project, for example, in a project contract, T&M invoice, for example, that's my transaction definition on my screen here. You'll see, like transaction posting, this is the actual invoice, posting details, history, source documents, and then there's a last tab now called the summary billings detail. And you want to make sure that you can see that and how you group that together. On the project screen, they added 4 new fields, and I just want you to be aware of it. So when you go into the screen and you have the screen memorized and you hit the number of tabs right away when you're entering a project, they've entered the scope and schedule section. Say that 3 times fast. So we have the ability to put in a scope, exclusions, inclusions, and term. So these are just, again, to help you keep track of the project. I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware that, when they go into the project screen, it is going to look a little different. Now, one of the key things is after the upgrade, or after the update, I highly recommend everyone go into the configure projects screen. So again, under the projects module or jobs module, you might have renamed that module based upon your terminology or what you wanted to do. If you go into the configuration and scroll really close to the bottom, there's a new feature down there saying what display options do you want for the project. And so you could turn on tasks, which everyone should have, estimates, purchasing commitments. But one of the things that is new that they've added is the change management tab. So you can now see all your change orders and change requests associated to a project and project contract. But you have to turn this on. So this is meant to customize the screen a little bit more. Honestly, I like seeing everything, but that's just me. So I like just turning on all the tabs and all the functions. But again, that might be not what you want. You might want to hide that information. So once you do that, in a project screen here, you'll see that there is a tab here that says change management, and you can see all the change requests and the change orders. The other thing that's nice is that they did add the ability to export this information out. So if you have a large list, you can export that out very, very easily at that point. You also have the same thing under the project contracts. So here, again, project contracts is where you declare the revenue associated to a project, and you're able to have your project contract, the billing details, and now again, that third tab there called change management, where you're able to see the project change orders and the change requests associated at that point. So we're excited that they're trying to get more and more information on each of these tabs, or add additional tabs to see that ability to not have to go into a million different screens or have multiple tabs open at the same time. So again, Saturday or Monday, turn that on. It's going to be really helpful for you. For those using WIP management, they've added some new fields to the WIP management screen. So they added it under the PM fields to update. They've added, you'll see here, the PM cost, forecast, cost to complete, cost at completion, forecast, a couple of those, and the couple CFO fields as well. They also added the over under bill at this, you can see here how it's handled at this point. So what you're going to see is that, and they've added a few other pieces of information. So again, so when you're in the WIP management screen, and if you're not using it, please, please, please watch our video that's on our YouTube channel on WIP management. Olivia did a tremendous job on that video, helping you get started with it. If you need more help, please let us know. But what they did is that when you're on a line, for example, you click on this show details, so that now is expanded. You'll see the PM fields updated, so you have audit trails of when these are done. But then at the very bottom, you're also seeing the dimensional values associated to that project at that point. So the customer, location, class, project type, project manager, and department. So these are things that people have asked for at that point. In addition to that, they've improved some of the range values based upon feedback. These range values have been fixed based upon some of the feedback that we have gotten. So again, CFO, forecasted percentage of completion, estimated percentage of completion, PM, these have now, they expanded the numbers further at that point. So they're available to you. There's also a couple other changes they're making to the WIP management. There's been some things that we've found. One is that if you have, for example, things that have crossed the fiscal year, we might have found some issues. Those are being addressed in this weekend release as well. So they're adding a lot of fixes to the WIP management. Again, that was put into early adopter, and now it's for general release. And we highly recommend it for those who are wanting to track WIP and be able to put this information in the system. One of the other things that they've added is, and we talked about this in a previous webinar, is the AP automation. So there was an AP automation module, which basically will scan in your invoice. You email email it or drag and drop your invoices or bills onto the system, and it will automatically populate the AP system for you. With this release, they had the purchasing feature, and with a lot of the feedback, they've added additional features. So be able to drill down the link to match documents. So for example, when it brings those invoices in, you can see what it matched to, and then you could click on that to see the information without having to go to another screen. They've also made a few other configuration changes where you don't have to do things at the top level anymore. You could do it at the entity level a lot better in the setup options. So this is a good way of helping you with the AP or the PO automation feature. This is still in early adopter. So what that means is that it's part of the AP automation module or AP automation features. It's just it's part of purchasing, and because it's early adopter, they're constantly looking for changes or improvements based upon feedback in there. One of the other things that they have done, and this really, really, really helps out our clients in Canada, in a few other places as well, but the ability to override the tax schedule on the document entry in purchasing. This helps out tremendously to make sure that it calculates tax correctly. And again, this was something that we've been wanting. They delayed it in the last release because they found a couple issues with it last second, and so they put it into this release. But so if you're using a not simple tax, so just keep in mind this is not simple tax. This is advanced tax or VAT tax. You can those are the only two solutions you could do it. So the first thing you have to do is under configure purchasing, you have to make sure that you say enable the override of the tax schedule on document entry. So one of the things I do like about Intacct is that they don't just turn that on. You have to turn that on yourself to prevent anyone making any mistakes. So and you'll go into tax, and then you'll see, for example, use advanced tax, and then again, enable the tax override. So when you're on that line there, you'll be able to change the tax schedule, and it will calculate the tax for you at that point on the purchasing document. One of the last things that they're adding is the ability for your employees to send in via email their receipts. So same thing as the AP automation. Same thing as the AP automation feature, where you put a picture or a PDF or something along those lines. But now they're adding that feature to the employee expenses, which is awesome. So they could just email it in to a specific email address. You can set that. Sage assigns that email address to you, and then what it does is that it will, based upon its machine learning and the AI stuff that they have created, which they've done a really great job at, it will bring in the electronic receipts, and then you can apply those to the employees at that point. So your employees now really don't have an excuse for turning it in. They could just take a picture and email it, and it goes into the system. In order to do this, you have to be part of the early adopter program. There's no additional charge at this point that I know of. So if you're interested in this, contact me. I'll send you the link to get you part of the early adopter program. There are some restrictions on that, such as they're going to ask a few questions to making sure that your system is compatible with this early adopter program. But really, really cool that they're now taking that even to the expenses, and I love it. So with that, everyone's been really quiet so far. So again, I blocked out 30 minutes for this. Any questions from anyone in the group? Everyone's been very quiet. One question is, what's coming out next year? Great question. So in our webinar that we do next month, I'll be able to publish out the first quarter roadmap for next year. That will be, so they've now got what's in R1 of next year pretty much planned out. And then in addition to that, what is coming out. So we will actually talk about that in our next webinar, because I'll have more information about that. Question that came in: to which email address should employees send their receipts? So first of all, when you sign up for it, it sets it up in your system. And then what it's going to do is that Sage is going to assign you multiple email addresses, actually. They'll all end with @sagemail.com. So sagemail.com is the domain, and then it's going to have like your entity name, and then you'll get, if you have multiple entities, you might get different email addresses. So it's all part of the configuration. So right now, again, please make sure you let me know, send me an email, and I will gladly get you the link for to sign up for the early adopter, and then you can then start testing it out. Hopefully I answered your question there on that. So with that, just to make sure you have my email address, I think everyone does. You've got it, information, you got it there. Again, if you have any problems on Monday, please let us know. We have our support staff, Jelani and team, making sure that they're ready to answer any of your questions that day. Happy to, and if we need to escalate anything, but again, I would tell you that they've been very, overall, each release has been very, very, very stable. We've been playing around with this for the last month, and we find it to be, this one's just a good some new features here, and it's great. So without any further ado, I'm going to end it for the day. Really appreciate everyone joining us. If there's any other questions, I'll stay on for a few minutes, but otherwise, thank you so much and have a great day.